1918, in Texas, the country is dealing with the Spanish flu pandemic, and World War I is going on. A young Pearl dances alone in her room before her abusive mother Ruth comes in and orders her to stop messing around and do her chores.
Wie du's versprochen hast.
Pearl also has to care for her paraplegic father. Pearl goes to the barn to tend to the cows and horses.
I do love a good audio.
A goose wanders into the barn, and Pearl impales it with a pitchfork. She then goes to the lake, where she finds the alligator Theta and hands it to her as a snack. Pearl has dreams of getting off the farm and has aspirations for stardom. She is married to Howard, who is serving in the war. Ruth discourages Pearl's ambitions and wants her to stay where she is.
The next day, she goes into town to buy some medicine for her dad, which turns out to be liquid morphine. And it's her only time to herself that resembles any sort of freedom. She gets into the theater and all of them have to wear masks because they themselves are also going through a pandemic. When the movie was over, Pearl goes into the alley of the theater. She meets this guy.
You like the movies?
I like dancing.
They end up having some small talk and he invites her in to see another picture, but for free this time. Pearl respectfully declines, so he ends up cutting a frame out of the movie she just saw and gives it to her as a little gift. Pearl, who is married, is completely smitten with him and she rides her bike all the way home thinking about him. While she's riding, the frame that he just gave her flies out of her pocket and into oblivion. She panics and goes to look for it. Pearl ends up in the middle of a cornfield to search for it. She stumbles upon this old stank scarecrow and is captivated by it, to say the least. She starts to climb the wooden post that the scarecrow is bound to and she gets all up on it. Like, her body language is just off. Pearl ends up snatching the scarecrow off the post, throws it onto the ground, picks it up again, and dances with it. She starts to tongue kiss it. Pearl envisions that guy's head on top of the scarecrow. You know, that guy that she just met. And then she screams at it.
I'm married!
Pearl ends up taking the scarecrow's hat and rides all the way back home. When she gets home, her mom is outside splitting wood and she looks at her like, "What took you so long?" Pearl makes this baloney excuse and then her mom is like, "Well, don't bring that hat in the house because it may have the germ," which is that disease that was going around and killing people. Pearl goes in the house, takes a bath, washes her hair, and she starts to wonder about her father, who is in his wheelchair right next to her. She starts wondering, can he feel anything? Is he really paralyzed? She ends up pinching his finger, no reaction, pokes his face, still no reaction. But then she starts to choke him. The poor man starts gasping for air. And it was almost like she was just testing the waters to see how far she could go. That night at dinner, her mom tries to scold her for not bringing back the 8 cents of change that would have came from the medicine that she bought for the dad. Pearl said she used it to get some candy and to eat on her way home. The mom tries to take Pearl's dinner away since she had the nerve to have a snack on the way home.
But Mama, I rode all that way. I'm starving.
The next day, Pearl's sister and mother-in-law pay them a visit with a cooked pig for the family to eat. While Pearl's mother is adamantly denying the pig, Pearl and her sister-in-law Mitzi are discussing the new gossip in town. Pretty much, the church is looking to round up girls all over the nation to form a dance troupe to provide entertainment for the soldiers at war. Pearl gets a new lease on life after hearing this, and she starts to focus all her ambitions on winning a spot on that troupe. That evening, she goes into her mother's closet and steals another dress to wear and pairs it with that scarecrow hat that her mom told her not to bring into the house. Pearl sneaks out that night.
Pearl returns to the theater and meets with the projectionist again.
Can't believe you get to see the pictures every day for free.
He shows her an unreleased film, A Free Ride, one of the world's first pornographic films. The projectionist says that these types of films will revolutionize the industry. Pearl talks about her dreams and ambitions but mentions that she is held back by her parents, and she lets it slip that she wishes they were dead. but she backtracks. The projectionist encourages Pearl to follow her dreams. During dinner, Ruth pulls out a pamphlet she found from Pearl, knowing that she wants to audition for the troupe. Once again, Ruth shuts down Pearl's dreams, lamenting how she was forced to care for her husband because of his condition, and also telling Pearl that nobody will have her because she knows that Pearl has sick tendencies such as killing small animals. The two get into a heated argument, with Pearl screaming at Ruth. And they slap each other. Pearl struggles and pushes Ruth toward the fireplace, causing her to catch fire and go up in flames. Pearl throws boiling water onto her to put the fire out and then drags a barely alive Ruth to the basement. Pearl then rushes back to the theater and goes to sleep with the projectionist. The next day, Pearl is set to get ready for her audition. The projectionist drives her home and comes across the mess in the kitchen, as well as Pearl's father sitting alone. He hears a thumping sound, Ruth in the basement, which Pearl says is her dog. She takes him around back to the barn, where she lets it slip that she doesn't have a dog. The projectionist grows more nervous and tries to politely tell Pearl he has to go, but she begins to grow angry and believes he is rejecting her and will not take her away from the farm.
Why are you leaving me? What did you say? Why did you...
As the projectionist tries to leave,
I'm not staying on this farm!
Pearl grabs a pitchfork and impales him twice, allowing his car to roll into the lake where Theta feasts on his corpse. Pearl then knocks Ruth down the stairs and goes to smother her father with a blanket. Pearl dons a red dress and joins Mitzi at the audition, where they see one girl crying about her rejection. Pearl goes on before Mitzi, and she puts on her own dance routine, set across her envisioned stage production in a war setting. After she finishes, the judges reject her. Pearl envisions the judges as her parents, plus the projectionist and Howard before she begs for another chance and insists that she is what it takes. But one of the judges tells her that they are looking for someone younger, blonde, and with X Factor.
I can make it better. No, I'm a sleaze! I'm a star!
Pearl begins to wail hysterically and break down crying outside before Mitzi goes to comfort her.
Pearl?
Mitzi offers to take her home. They end up getting to the house and going to the dining room and have a heart-to-heart. Pearl is like, my mom was right, I'll never get off this farm. She goes, there may be something really wrong with me, something's missing in me that the rest of the world has. She hasn't told anyone how messed up she truly is, and is scared about what would come out of her mouth and also scared to push other people away. But Mitzi pressures her to just spill it out. Pearl unloads, like really unloads, and it's a lot. She mainly talks about her struggles with being a young wife, and having feelings for other men. She's upset that Howard, her husband, left her to go to war. Mitzi is freaked out. She becomes another person that just wants to get away from Pearl.
I should probably get going now.
And Pearl starts to notice Mitzi getting uncomfortable. So Mitzi, she's like, I think I should go. And Pearl is like, are you frightened of me? You think I'm sick? Pearl is not stupid and can read facial expressions and body languages. She realized that the person she is.
You guys get everything you want.
I have to go now.
Mitzi starts to walk away, and Pearl tries to congratulate her for getting the part. Mitzi denies getting the part, but Pearl says she is lying. Mitzi then says she did so that she can leave. As she starts to walk out, Pearl follows and grabs an axe. Mitzi tries to run and call for help, but Pearl hacks her to death. Pearl dismembers Mitzi and feeds her remains to Theta. She then goes to the basement, where Ruth had attempted to crawl up the stairs before dying. Pearl envisions Ruth looking well and telling her that she loves her, which is all she wanted from her. Pearl then sits her parents' corpses in the dining room, along with the rotted pig, and pretends to have dinner with them. Howard returns home from the war and enters the house, where he discovers the horrifying display. Pearl then comes out and says she is happy to see Howard. She then gives him a forced, pained smile, which she holds through the credits as tears stream down her face.